hot baby girl with the cat ears, and and now he's a bit more of like, yeah, hot unk. I said, whatever they decide, whatever direction they want to take the story, I'm all for it. I'm on board 100%.
Hey, over here. FBI, what are you doing here?
Would you like to see what's hidden under the hood?
Don't do anything stupid.
Me? Never.
Do I see your shirt there? Look, is that a? I see the typewriter in the herb. I like that. I like that.
Had to be on theme.
Yeah, yeah. Well, speaking of on theme, look what I got.
Oh, amazing, amazing. So you know as well.
Exactly. Yeah.
Really interested to know kind of what the run up to a release is like for you, because obviously you've recorded this quite a while ago and then had to kind of like sit on it. So like,
Yeah.
is that kind of a nervous time for you, or do you have to kind of put it out of your mind and then just sort of get on with other projects?
You've got to get on. It's exciting. I mean, I knew about this project back in 2023. So it's just nice to have that in your life because you know that even if you're going through some tough times, you always get this thing that's going to come out in a couple of years. You know, it's just a nice reminder. It's always exciting to work on these projects. And yes, this lead up, like we're at the finish line right here. And I mean, I'm chomping at the bit. I want to play this in 2 days myself. But it's kind of like a kid waiting for Christmas morning to come. You know, so I'm just sitting there every day, like, oh, one day closer.
Obviously, like you said, you're excited to play it. I imagine you've seen like bits of it finished, but not the whole thing. So is it kind of interesting to dive into it from that perspective? Like, oh, that's me. I'm going to hear me coming back through there.
It's less about me seeing me on screen and more about me. If I wasn't a fan of this franchise, yes, I think that would be really, really cool. And that would be the focal point. But the root of my excitement is just coming from my own fandom. So when I see like a new monster that you have to fight, a whole new villain design or something, that's what gets me. I'm like, whoa, look at that thing. We gotta fight that thing. Like that's where my brain goes. And so seeing the scenes and seeing just anything new with the best graphics I think we've ever seen in a Resident Evil game, that's the cool stuff for me.
So kind of going into your work, you obviously did full performance capture, I believe, for the kind of run. And obviously Leon isn't a very still person. There's backflips, there's kicks, there's all kinds of craziness. Yeah. So firstly, are they all your kicks, or do you need some kind of like animation help to make them as crazy? And what's the motion capture experience like?
No, I'm not gonna lie and say I can do martial arts and backflips. That's not really my forte. Yes, I'm an action actor, and I've been doing a lot of my own stunts for almost a decade and a half at this point. And there's a lot that I do in these games. But when it comes to martial arts, I'm just not that flexible. I can't do a backflip. And so they actually record those. Some are probably straight up animation, yes, but they take reference from probably martial artists in Japan. They have stunt performers as well. And then on set, of course, we work on all the cinematics, yes. But then we have to splice some really dangerous or really big stunts with amazing people who do those. These are professionals. They live and breathe this stuff. And then we splice it seamlessly together so it feels like the same cohesive character. So I got to give credit to these stunt teams because they're amazing and I love them. And they make people like us, they make characters like Leon look like a badass.
I think that kind of ties into a question I had. Recently, we were lucky enough to speak to some actors like Jennifer English and Doug Cockle. We were kind of talking about how there's been this sort of stigma of working as an actor in video games. You always get kind of labeled a voice actor. And obviously that's quite an interesting subject because you guys do so much more than just voice work. There's so much more to it.
There is.
And I'd be really interested to kind of get your take on, being called a voice actor versus an actor or a motion capture artist and that kind of thing.
Yeah, I mean, boiled down to the basics, it's all acting, right? A voice actor is no less than a theater actor and vice versa and so on and so forth. But yes, most of the work that I do in video games is actual full performance capture, and actually a lot of motion capture. I do a lot of just body work in other franchises, and it's I like to personally embody the character. It helps me a lot, quite a bit. Like in these scenes, when you are physically acting out the scenes, just like you would theater, and they're just filming it from every single direction all at once with upwards to 120 infrared cameras. It's picking up your digital skeleton. We're also doing facial capture. So you've got the camera pointed right at your face so they can grab every little tiny detail of what your face is doing so that it helps the animators to put the avatar right over that. It's the full thing. And even with voice acting, so even if you are just behind a microphone in a booth by yourself, that stuff is physical. You don't just, a lot of people think you just kind of like stand there and just do these crazy voices just like this. Holy shit. It's really physical though, especially with action games. When you are fighting, doing those like the fighting efforts, taking damage, dying, that stuff, it hurts the next day. And I get into it. I sweat in the booth. So it's a very physical endeavor, but it's, at the end of the day, it's still an artistic expression.
Yeah, no, exactly, and that's the point, right? You guys are feeding into an art form, and
Yes.
it's really nice to kind of like see that slowly getting the recognition it deserves in that kind of aspect.
Yeah.
So, kind of going into Leon as a character, obviously he's older in this game. What kind of work did you have to do with your performance to kind of like portray that in a kind of natural way that didn't feel too sort of, like over the top?
Slow it down just a little bit. I had a conversation with a really good friend of mine, Jameson, and was talking about this, like, how do you get into older type voices if like me, I have kind of like a unnaturally bright little young register, and I'm like, so how would I do that? And this guy's a really talented voice actor himself, and he said you don't always have to think about just the register, the deepness of something. He's like, if you listen to older people talk versus younger people, they have a slower cadence. There's just like that world weary pace about them where sometimes they'll just like react to something horrible, be like, oh, well, that sucks, huh? It's like the weight of the world. You just feel like, oh, they've been around the block a couple times. And so I kind of really thought about that. It was just the speed of things, the cadence, how long it took them to get going, even with reactions, internal stuff. So I really played around with that a lot.
Going into I'm not going to spoil anything in the story, but obviously from the kind of teaser trailers and things like that, there's kind of this air of like, oh, is this Leon's last run sort of thing. So when you started on this project, obviously I'm not sure how much you do of the story from start to end. Did you have a kind of like fear that maybe this is my last stab at Leon?
I didn't have a fear. I have so much trust in Capcom that I said, whatever they decide, whatever direction they want to take the story, I'm all for it. I'm on board 100%, and we'll just go for it. And at the beginning, we were still kind of figuring out what the story was going to be. It wasn't locked, and so I just kept open-minded.
Do you now know where it's gone? Are you kind of happy with what they've done with the story, or?
I haven't. I mean, unless they changed a lot since the last time I filmed, which they might have, I don't know exactly. I don't know exactly what they decided to do, and I'm gonna have to find out with the rest of the world.
Just to kind of like take it back a little bit. Obviously, your first instance as Leon was RE2 remake.
Yeah,
and since then you've done like loads of significant performances. But getting that gig in the first place, what was that journey like for you? And were you a really big fan of the franchise beforehand? Is that kind of part of it as well?
Really big fan. That doesn't even do it justice. I was the fan. I Resident Evil had been my favorite franchise since 1998, and getting the audition for that project was crazy to me. I couldn't believe that was happening. And I get the role a couple of weeks later, and I've been in a bit of a surreal mind state ever since then. I knew everything about it, and I didn't even have an agent at the time. I self-submitted myself on a public casting website and just said, hey, I'm a giant fan. I would love to audition. Then I got the audition. It became a little bit more real. Then I got the role. It became very real. And the rest is history. But yes, I was a really, really, really big fan.
Nice. And what was the kind of audition process like? Was it a lot of kind of voice samples and reads and things like that?
It was a grab bag of dramatic scenes. They want to see how you perform as just straight dramatic actor. And then there was a lot of physicality testing for that. They wanted to see how you moved. Well, my character anyways. They want to see how Leon would move with a gun. He was a rookie cop. So can you kind of, rough and tumble a little bit, like throw yourself around, do some tactical roles? How do you look drawing a weapon, stuff like that? Some action stuff, kicking down doors. And that was super fun. Now that was very second nature to me because I had a huge background in action acting. That felt like just doing an action film. And then I also trained with quite a few friends, went through these scenes and just try to pick up like any little pointers from my friends who were trained in theater. Because motion capture, in a way, they don't really care about the close up. They want to see how your body moves, because if you are playing a player character, people are going to be looking at your avatar the whole game. And so they want like kind of big, slightly over exaggerated movements. And so I trained with theater actors.
So going through the kind of process of making this game, were there any kind of like really standout kind of memories or moments for you in the process, like any kind of scenes or anything like that?
I mean, it was all cool because of the fact that it wasn't a remake. Everything was new to me. I was intimately familiar with the source material for the remakes of 2 and 4. And so when plot points were revealed, I always thought it was cool. I was like, oh, they're going to do it this way. That's how they're going to present the scene. That's cool. But this one, everything blew my mind. And so as I was learning and I was reading the new scenes that would come through, I would just be fascinated. As a fan, I was trying to figure out and see where this would fit into the whole story. And so I was really just in awe the whole time.
Obviously, Leon's quite infamous for lots of one-liners, lots of classic ones throughout the series. Have you got any favorite one-liners from this one?
To be quite honest, we said a lot of them, and I don't know which ones have even made it into the game yet because I haven't played it yet. There's a couple that would stick out to me, but I almost don't even want to spoil it for anybody if they haven't played yet watching this. So I try to stay away from spoilers, but I'm really excited to see like which ones land with fans, which ones become popular at appearances, you know?
Yeah, and I'm expecting to see lots of kind of like fan cam edits with the one-liners come through on TikTok.
Do you think, like as someone who played, do you think there are a couple in there that are just going to be classics?
Yeah, I can already think of like 2 or 3 that like I'm actually still thinking on like after finishing it. So.
Okay, that's good. That's a good thing.
We can begin your treatment.
Silent treatment, I hope.
Yeah, we always try to pepper in some good zingers.
Yeah. Just helps with the memes, right? So
yeah, I mean that's what they're there for, right?
So obviously Leon's always been a bit of a kind of like heartthrob in the series.
Yeah.
And Capcom and one of the devs were obviously quite open about getting kind of like women on the team to help feed into that.
I saw that. Yeah.
Is that like an interesting thing to hear as someone who kind of plays that character and then isn't on that side of working on it?
It always is, you know. Leon he's been baby girl for a couple of years now, right? Just hot baby girl with the cat ears, and and now he's a bit more of like, yeah, hot unk. I just hear that all the time, hot unk Leon. I think it's hilarious. Nice. I think, you know, if people want to lean into it, lean into it.
This is where I conduct my research.
Do you ever get a kind of like funny reactions from like friends and family for that kind of stuff, like the memes? And
it's impossible not to. Yeah, I get a lot of my friends who love this franchise. They send me like, I'm tagged in a million things online all the time, and they'll send these things to me like, have you seen this? I would be like, yeah, I've seen it like a dozen times this week. So I think it's funny, and it's just you got to poke fun at it. What Resident Evil has always been about is, yes, this awful zombie apocalypse that you have to navigate through, but it's also campy and cheesy, and it has this perfect weird balance of those two things, you know what I mean? I think that's why it's so popular.
Yeah, it's always been really good at managing to be kind of like really tense but also ridiculous and never kind of too much of either side.
It's the weirdest recipe, but it works and it tastes good.
Be really interested to know from the series maybe like your top maybe 3 Resi games.
That's easy. I've had this list for a long time and hasn't changed in a while. Let's see. Number 1 favorite game of all time is Resident Evil 4, 2005. That's my favorite. Second one, I'll say Resident Evil 1 HD remake from 2002. That game is that is everything that Resident Evil represents, in my opinion. It's a perfect representation of it. And then 7. So when Biohazard came out, 7 knocked some games like off that list because I thought that was a masterclass in survival horror, and I played it in VR, which was terrifying.
Brave man to finish it in VR. If we were talking gaming kind of outside of Resi, can you name 2 or 3 games that are kind of maybe not up there, but really memorable for you?
I'll give you my top five. Well, I gave you my one, that Resident Evil 4. The other four, Mega Man 3. I'm a big Nintendo guy, big nostalgia guy, so I like to go back to where it all started, what grew my love of all these games and styles of games. So Mega Man 3 from Nintendo, Castlevania 3 from Nintendo, Final Fantasy 7 on PlayStation 1, and Super Metroid on Super Nintendo. Those are my top five, and I don't think anything will change that soon.
Yeah, that's a really strong list. Can't complain about anything on there. I guess just finally, what's your kind of like elevator pitch for RE9? Why should people get on board?
No one's asked me that before. Why should they play? I mean, it's my favorite franchise, and so I'm going to say it's the best franchise. It's going to be fun if you're a Resident Evil fan. You're going to love this game because it gives you so much of what has made this franchise so popular for the past 30 years. And the fact that it's been going for 30 years is crazy. And it's just going to be a good, solid game. Even if survival horror is not your thing or hasn't been historically, it's going to be an enjoyable experience, and I think you're really going to like it.